Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Titans will hit the practice field tomorrow in preparation for a road trip to the Washington Commanders. Tom Pelissero reported today the Titans are adding wide receiver Stanley Morgan Jr. to the practice squad. It would reunite Brian Callahan with Morgan Jr. from their time together in Cincinnati. In college football news, North Carolina has parted ways with head coach Mack Brown, according to CBS. After 6 seasons in his second stint at Carolina, Brown will coach them this weekend against NC State. College football playoff rankings are out tonight, 7 p.m. on ESPN. Tennessee expected to come back into the 12-team bracket after getting help with losses from Bama and Ole Miss over the weekend. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation. We'll have Coach Mack in the 2 o'clock hour for his weekly Mack Attack. And Blaine, just to jump right in, holy crap, what a weekend of college football. I mean, it was chaos everywhere. And all the chaos that happened benefited one team most of all, and that was the University of Tennessee Volunteers. I mean, I have never seen everything just fell right into that. There you go.
I know all the UT fans, not only in the state, but also at this station. Jackson, what were you thinking all weekend long when you saw all those games fall in Tennessee's way?
Man, I was just ecstatic, overjoyed, but I know the job's not done. We have a game this weekend on West End, a big one. But definitely a big weekend for Tennessee to be able to get back into the playoff before the final week's rankings.
Wow, man. Ole Miss, Florida. I called the Florida. I thought that is a great possibility. They're playing well.
Listen, DJ Lagway. I know. Listen,
he's pretty good.
I know we're about to compliment a Gator on the University of Tennessee station, but DJ Lagway looks like that next dude.
Yeah,
that next dude.
Yeah, no doubt. I heard Tennessee fans were doing the Gator chomp.
Is that true?
They were doing it at Neyland Stadium as the Gators defeated the Ole Miss Rebels.
I'm not, I don't know all the rules of, because I ain't go to big time school and we wasn't hating on IU or anybody else.
Cheering is one thing. The Gator chop?
Yeah, it is used to mock the Gators often.
Yeah.
Grant Williams, famous for that when they went down to Gainesville. But this time it
was done in earnest in support of the Gators.
Oh, yeah. Very weird. Very weird.
I think that is weird. I think that's a little too much.
Wait, where were you when you watched the game, Jackson?
Well, he wore Gator or Florida colors on Sunday. Nobody saw it.
Did you do the chomp at home?
I did not do the chomp at home.
Okay, I was just making sure.
Thought about it.
That's, to me.
You thought about it.
Hey, I mean, Florida put Tennessee's destiny back in their own hands. After it was out of their hands after they lose to Georgia, Florida put Tennessee's destiny back in its own hands.
I couldn't never do a War Eagle in earnest, even if it benefited Alabama. I would just kind of do a golf clap.
Ooh,
because I can't do it. I can't. I think that's a little too far.
But I think it's this new era of college football where, how many times has an Auburn really, we need Auburn to win in the old era of college football.
Yeah.
So this new era is going to have you rooting for teams that normally you would never root for.
There's a difference between rooting for them and then celebrating them using their own celebration.
Yeah,
I think that's a fine line you shouldn't cross.
Yeah,
I agree. That's why I didn't
let's
do
work on that. Let's work on that with everybody that's a University of Tennessee fan.
Lucas did it today during the show.
Lucas did it today during the show.
Lucas Panzica today during the Buck Rising show did it.
That's a little embarrassing.
So let's ask the Tennessee fans, do they think it's
Yeah, why don't you put that on Twitter on a poll if we'll pull from Lucas and Buck and do a poll.
How do you want to phrase it?
Is it okay to use a team's celebration, a rival's celebration, if it benefits you in the college football playoffs. Because what if you lose? Then you guys just did the Gator chump for lose against Vanderbilt. Then maybe you did the Gator chump for nothing.
And it will be a meme for eternity.
Yeah.
It'll be
Gotta
like
think about
that
kind of
older
stuff.
couple that Buck always posts.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
You got to think about that kind of
I
stuff.
wonder what those guys are up to.
I just figured those were your parents.
Sometimes it's
Hurtful. That was hurtful. Too far.
But anyway.
Wait. I can't believe you said that. Where's the picture, man?
Yeah, put that picture up with the poll.
Oh, my God.
We're going to Photoshop you in that picture.
Hey, man, we need to cut that, man. We got to cut that, put that out there.
But BYU lost. They drop way down the bowls. Let me say something.
Yeah.
Because me and Lucas were talking about this on Sunday.
Together.
If a 9-3 SEC team were to get in, and it's down to Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Alabama, objectively, South Carolina should get in my opinion.
Yeah, I saw them live when they played Vanderbilt. I told you I like them. They were really close when they, even though they lost head-to-head to Bama. But they just keep getting better. And, man, I did not realize, because I don't watch South Carolina, that they have so many pro prospects on their team. Because when I'm at that Vanderbilt game, there were pro prospects all over the place. When I say that, I'm talking about scouts. And looking at their prospects there in South Carolina. So it was from evaluating the freshman defensive end to, you name it, the wide receiver. I mean, man, wow. And they looked the part. The size, I was like, dang, man, how would I guard that wide receiver they have? He was about 6'5" and could go. I mean, he had track speed, and he was breaking down, running routes, and had bursts and everything else, explosiveness. I was thoroughly impressed with their talent, and that's why I think Beamer acts the way he acts, because he feels like they never get the credit and just do, and maybe they lose a game that they're supposed to win, and then that kind of everybody jumps off and like, oh, this team is not very good, and then all of a sudden they just keep plugging along, and they are really good. You know what? They are a team. If they get in, if they squeak in, they are a team I would not want to play. If I'm Tennessee, I don't want to play them,
especially because to get to 9-3, they have to go into Clemson and win that game this weekend. I
haven't watched any Clemson, but I'm picking them over Clemson.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me right now, if you're looking at the 8-3 teams, you have to think that South Carolina is the more complete and consistent team, and they really got screwed out of it. They should really only be a 2-loss team, because I have never seen a team get screwed in a loss against LSU by the refs like that game.
Oh, what happened?
And the refs took away touchdowns, gave touchdowns at will. Like, if you wanted to look at a game that maybe was like, his name escapes me, Donaghy, whoever the NBA ref was that got, this game right here could have been the poster child of, are these refs betting on this game?
Oh.
Like, it was the worst officiated football game.
But didn't they lose a game against a team they shouldn't have lost? Or was it earlier in the season?
Well, that is the LSU. Also, you're not the Alabama game. I cannot remember.
Ole Miss or Kentucky? Who?
Kentucky.
Yeah, that's the game. That kind of lost. Oh. See, and that's what happens every year. They'll lose a game based off how we're talking about them and how they look now early in the season that you think they should have won. So,
But let's take it back to Tennessee, because everything ended up in their favor. They're currently 7th in AP football poll, because we're going to be off for Thanksgiving on Thursday and Friday. This segment is normally on our Wednesday show, because we have the college football released, the poll released. We know the playoff format. I mean, Tennessee's currently 7
in the AP.
In the AP. Obviously, Miami is going to be one of the top 4 seeds, so that's going to push them down maybe one spot. So I'm thinking they'll probably be 8 or 9 tonight.
I'm going to go for 7.
You like it? You like them at 7?
I like them at 7, man. I think, because I'm wondering who they would play if they did the bracket today, if they were 7th. Who if they were 7th and whoever's 8. A lot of people saying they're going to be 8 and then or 8 or 9, and I don't know.
Well, if this stayed true, they would probably be playing Notre Dame.
Oh, and I like that matchup.
I kind of would look at it like that. Well, I think they may play Notre Dame. What do you got, Jackson?
I think Tennessee will end up 7th in the rankings,
Yeah,
but
see?
eight or nine in the bracket.
That's kind of what I feel, right?
That's what I'm thinking. I think they
okay.
probably are the highest ranked road team for the first round of the college football playoff as
Yeah.
it stands.
Dang, I want a home game.
South Carolina did not get beat by Kentucky.
Who was it? Ole Miss?
South Carolina killed Kentucky. That's the game that we're thinking of.
Oh.
I was out on the town that weekend. But yeah, South Carolina killed Kentucky.
I know they lost to Ole
Slaughtered
Miss.
by Ole Miss in
Ole
their
Miss,
own house.
They got
That's
killed.
what it
That's
is.
what it was. Yeah, Ole Miss. Mhm.
Yeah. But I look at it and I think that this is trending to kind of be, I think Tennessee would obviously want to end up 5 or 6 because you want to have that home field advantage. But that's going to probably, I don't know if they can get there. I mean, Georgia obviously is going to, I think, is a lock for the SEC championship.
That's who
now
I want,
you're
that's who I
determining.
want them to play in the first round.
Yeah.
I just want them to play them again.
You just want to play them again.
Uh-huh,
And then you got
first round.
Texas at Texas A&M, which will decide the other opponent in the SEC championship. So
yes.
that's interesting as well. So that will be there's a lot of interesting storylines, but there's one storyline that the University of Tennessee just cannot seem to escape.
Oh.
Just for whatever reason, this storyline, they cannot escape. This trend, they cannot escape. And we're going to talk about that next. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. 615-737-1045 you want to get in on the conversation. Of course, we have the F&M Bank chat on Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. And Blaine talked about it. They just cannot escape the slow starts. Even against UTEP.
Oh,
no points
okay.
scored.
Yeah.
University of Tennessee scored 0 points in the first quarter against UTEP.
Yeah, I know. And I didn't watch the game live, but I went back and I was like, oh my gosh. It was like a game in the second quarter. I was like, what's going on here?
I mean, they started pulling away like they should, but that should start in the first quarter. And we have talked about it on the show.
Is it in their head?
I do not know, because we've talked about it on this show almost all season long. It didn't matter who the guest was, what the conversation was. It comes back to, if you want to be something, be a team in these college football playoffs, you have to avoid slow starts. And this team, much like, and I will go back and say, Alabama's the same way. You have to avoid slow starts. And I just can't pinpoint what it actually is, because it feels like it's something just a tad bit different every game. But you got to get it together. And you only have really one game left, and it's against Vanderbilt, who is a quality opponent, and they'll pounce on you, and then they'll choke you out. Like, that's kind of how Vanderbilt plays their game. They're going to pounce on you, and they won't.
They'll get some turnover. I mean, man, they're a very disciplined team. Ooh, and I believe if they let them hang around at home, man, it's going to be, they better get after it sooner than later.
Yeah.
And I mean, at the beginning of the game. Jackson, do you know why Tennessee is playing horrible? He's up here talking to somebody. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We're outlawing people from going in there and mess with and talk to Jackson because he's easily distracted.
We also need the lights on in there, so we can see Jackson's beautiful face.
But here's what I would say about their offense. Heupel's the head coach. How do you go almost an entire season and something is still wrong with your offense?
Yeah.
That means the receivers, the O-line, and the quarterback all season long, for whatever reason, weren't on the same page consistently throughout the season. So who had roles? Somebody in college, that's how it works.
Is this just
They're never going to be the head guy.
Is this just the instance of, like, it's just a young quarterback and maybe some relatively young players on offense?
That is over now. He started
that,
almost
right?
an
I mean, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Is like, we're talking, this is a season-long thing.
Yeah, that's why it's an issue.
You got to bring up NIL money. I know people will get mad when you bring up the NIL money of Nico, but these kids are getting paid like professionals, and at some point the light has to come on. Jackson, what are your thoughts on these slow starts for the University of Tennessee? Like, what, you are a fan, how annoying is this, and what's the cause?
I think it's really annoying. I think it comes down to execution. They're just not executing, and then they get into a groove. I don't know what it is with Nico. It's almost like sometimes, somebody said this earlier in the season, sometimes when he takes a hit, after he takes a hit, it kind of gets him right. And so I think towards the end of the first quarter against UTEP, took a hit. Tennessee puts up 56. I really don't know what it is exactly. It's different things in every game. A lot of times it's penalties, procedural penalties, holding penalties, illegal man downfield penalties.
Play too?
The receivers haven't been good enough all season. Even like when they were, Dante Thornton has been the best receiver for Tennessee this season. Squirrel White has also been good. Brew McCoy has been great when they go to him, but they haven't gone to him as much as you would have expected. So, the receivers have not performed, but early in the games, it's mainly penalties and just not executing well enough to get those early points that you're going to need if you go into a college football playoff.
It's like a reverse Marcus, right? Like Marcus, when he got hit, he was done for the rest of the game. For Nico, he gets hit and then he lights it up. He turns into Patrick Mahomes. Like, what do you think it is about a hit or something like that just gets him going as a quarterback? Like, that seems like almost a reverse that you would expect.
Sometimes you just get into the flow of the game. And to me, that means they should have running plays for him so he does get the contact. I'd try to run him and, see what happens and then see if he can get into a groove. It's not just Nico. Let's say that too. But that's why I say it's a combination of why all these things are still at this point of the season. Because
you would think with a good running game, you would be able to get into a great
running game.
right? It's an
He's
excellent
down
running
in
game.
Heisman conversation. I saw he was 7th
Oh, yeah?
the other day. Yeah.
And, I mean, Dylan Sampson's not 100% scot-free either. He's had some early fumbles
Yeah.
in games. And I think it really comes down to the penalties. That's
Yeah.
really what's killed. It's a lot of legal man downfield on these screens. It's holding. It's different things that are just getting Tennessee behind the chains with a inexperienced freshman quarterback that, Hendon Hooker may be able to overcome a little bit better because he's a 5th, 6th-year senior.
I mean, maybe so. It's just, I look at it because you talk about a young quarterback's best friend is run game and defense, and they got that, and they still have a hard time getting things going. We'd love to hear from you if you want to get in on the conversation, 615-737-1045. But, Blaine, at some point, I mean, it's kind of like we talked about this 2 weeks ago. You are who you are at this point in the season, and this is who they are, and this is what you should go into expecting. Doesn't mean they can't win games. They may be a lot closer than what you want, but when you get into college football
Regular
playoffs,
season games, yes.
it's a whole
On
new
the
element with
road?
whole new schemes you haven't seen, teams you're not familiar with. Prep time is a little bit different, and all this stuff. And the prep time probably benefits you in the playoffs a little bit more than it does week to week. But for a team that needs momentum, it feels like the University of Tennessee, breaks in between when the season's over and college football playoffs actually start, that could actually hurt a team like University of Tennessee, who's not going to be in their championship game, is going to have to wait till their next game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of things at play here. Go ahead, Jackson.
No, you go ahead.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. The scheme thing, I think, will help Tennessee. People not being seeing this offense. The SEC's seen this offense for the past 3 or 4 years with Josh Heupel. So they kind of know what to expect. He's played, I believe, every SEC team at this point. So they know they've seen this offense before. But you get into a Big 10, a Big 12, a different conference that maybe hasn't seen this Josh Heupel offense. I do think it gives Tennessee an advantage.
That could be true. I mean, that could be a good way to look at it. It's just
I don't know about that one. I think the other way. I'm right. I'm probably leaning more into the other way.
Yeah.
Them being off, this is a flow, feel, rhythm offense. They haven't figured out all year on an off week with 2 how to fix it, and it's always another issue here. So on the road, I don't care who they are, all those teams have quality defenses. That's only going to be in the playoffs. So I mean, that's another expectation. Do you think they can
unless
win on the
Colorado
road?
gets in the playoffs, because they have a terrible defense.
Oh, right. Well, Kansas just ran down their throats. I mean, it was ridiculous. But, yeah. So, that's from the other side. Yeah. But if it's an Ohio State, I feel nervous.
It's just not
really
a cakewalk.
about them, going in the first round. I want to feel confident that the offense is going to come to play and the defense is going to do pretty much what it's done all season besides the Georgia game. And I don't feel confident at all. I want to feel that way. I thought they were going to be able to fix it, especially since Heupel's an offensive guy.
Yeah. We're going to go to Bob in Hermitage, who wants to talk about the Tennessee Volunteers. Bob, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Yes, I'm a season ticket holder, and I've been to all the big games, of course, this year. I've missed, a couple of the games, like I didn't go to Kent State or UTEP, but I'll be honest with you, after what I've seen, I think that the Vols are about like every other team in the country. There's not a dominant team that's just outstanding. So, yes, I want the offense to start out quicker, but I think that they got as good a shot as anybody this year because there's no dominant team, really. And I tell you what, Florida, to me, I was at that game, and I was very impressed with Florida. And I think they've become on a roll, and, they worried me. I dread Napier coming back next year. But as far as, Tennessee being that much worse than anybody else in the country, I think they got as good a shot as anybody this year.
I mean, he does make a good point. There seems to be a lot of parity in college football this year. I will say that it seems like Oregon is that dominant team right now, both on offense and defense. But the chances of you seeing Oregon early, obviously you're not going to see them in the first round because they'll probably have the bye. But, I look at a team like Ohio State. I look at a team like Notre Dame, never been a big fan of Notre Dame. But this defense is playing lights out right now. I mean, this defense is just going to town on people. And this defense, is going to cause you problems. You know, you look at Miami. Can you score enough against Miami quick enough to catch up? Or are you going to be playing from behind the whole time?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the things I look at. Like Indiana, yeah.
Yeah.
SMU, yeah. But these other teams, even Georgia, is going to give you fits. You've seen them. Boise State, yeah. Like, there are teams that Tennessee matches
Arizona
well
State.
with. Arizona State right now is playing really good football.
That's who Jackson said he wants to play.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, to me, I look at it and I go, you got to score quick. It's not that because I don't think you can not score an entire game. It's that these teams can too. Yeah. These teams score quick and early and often.
Yeah, you just don't want to get behind.
Right.
And they've shown some consistency, whatever reason it is. I think when you get in the playoffs, and the caller's right, it's a lot more parity now.
Yeah.
But I think when you get into the playoffs, you're going to see that those teams that are more well-balanced across the board, great offense, defense, and special teams, those teams are going to start pulling away, and then you're going to start being in a predictable situation where you're going to have to throw the ball and now to get back. And now you're making it really tough for your quarterback to then, complete passes when everybody knows you're going to be throwing the ball. So I would hope that they're going to play better. I thought they would by now, and that's the part that makes me nervous against quality, well-balanced teams across the board.
And listen, I would be saying the same thing about Alabama that I'm saying about Tennessee. Because, I mean, to me, you got to be objective about this, and that's just kind of how I view it, is that neither of these teams are – I mean, they have their moments, but they're just not consistent enough to really give me a lot of confidence against the upper tier of what you're going to see in this tournament.
Right.
And we're going to
also because of what we've seen in the past, Jackson. We've seen this offense, how it's supposed to work, and it just haven't happened.
Yeah.
Like not immediate anyway. So that's the other really perplexing, puzzling. Like, dang, man, this is still going on.
It's interesting. It'll be interesting to gauge, to look at what happens this weekend between Tennessee and Vandy and the feelings coming out of that game. Did you win, but did it take you a while to win? That will be, and sometimes all that matters is that you won, but, in the college football playoffs, you only get one shot.
I didn't see the Vandy LSU. Did anybody see a little bit of that? Because I wonder how they look. Because a lot of people saying Vandy looks a little worn down now.
Yeah, they kind of are.
Depth is coming into play now.
Yeah.
And Diego's kind of playing hurt. Did you?
I didn't see much of that game, but yeah, they haven't looked as good in recent weeks as they did around the middle of the season.
We're going to go to Chris in Hendersonville and wants to talk about the Tennessee Volunteers. Chris, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, guys.
What's going on,
appreciate
Chris?
you taking the call. I agree 100% with what Jackson just said. The fact that the teams we're going to play in the playoffs have not seen our offense is definitely an advantage. And, it's hilarious to me, and I'm not beating up on somebody, Notre Dame, right? If I'm Tennessee and I play Notre Dame in the college playoff, I'm playing Northern Illinois' fight song the entire game. I mean, they are so overrated, it's not even funny. So I think we have as good a shot to beat anybody as anybody else. And appreciate all you guys do. I'll hang up and listen.
I mean, I totally understand where the I guess optimism is coming from, for sure. I mean, especially if you're a fan. You got the young quarterback that you've been looking for. He's going through his growing pains. It's just there's not been that offensive consistency. That's really what worries me. It's not really the defense, right? It's not really the run game. It is the offensive line. It is the
Pass
quarterback
protection.
and the pass
Receivers.
catchers. Like, I mean, those are going to be important things unless you run up against a team that has a porous run defense. And you can just rely on Dylan Sampson. This is a tough ask for a young quarterback right now. I mean, to go through this. I mean, SMU's playing really well. I mean, I would probably still go University of Tennessee because especially if it's a home game. That to me is like the big key. If it's a home game for the University of Tennessee in that first round of the college football playoffs, that is a totally different animal and a totally different conversation.
Yep. I would completely agree with that. That's what I said. You're going to be on the road. Here's why, everybody's talking about they hadn't seen the offense. Guess where they have? They're watching tape.
Yeah.
And if they have the defense to say, I got that cat, and I got that cat, then the offense is nothing. I mean, they say we're going to just use all our willpower to make sure we stop Sampson because we got guys.
Yeah.
Because we got guys, and most of these teams do.
Yeah, I mean, you're
And
talking
that's what
about
I'm
teams that
getting
are going
at.
to
That's
be
what Georgia
fielding.
did. I get that cat.
Yeah.
Get that cat. Get that cat.
There are NFL quality players on these teams you're going to see. I mean, Arkansas has Landon Jackson,
I'm wrong.
quality football player. I mean, he's going to go in the NFL, but so did Alabama. So it's like you got to figure out which of these teams are going to be the Arkansas that is just going to match up well and be able to grind you into the dirt and force you to play their style of game, and which one of these are going to be Alabama where you're going to have a little bit of an advantage because they're having trouble keeping up with you. And they have the same issues that you do.
Right, yeah. So that's why I think not getting off to a fast start, man, if they don't, that's going to make it tough for them.
Yeah.
They do what they're supposed to do at the beginning of games. I think they definitely could beat anybody. But, man, it gets off a slow start. They're going to make it nick and tuck, and, man, it going to make some guys really nervous.
But I will say Lady Luck is currently on University of Tennessee's side. I mean, you look at this weekend, you could not imagine anything other than that going your way.
That was fun.
It is the most perfect outcome of games you can imagine. And it all
was
just
meant to
happened.
be.
Does that mean that luck has run out, though? I mean, that's the thing. You're going into Vandy.
Are we looking past Vandy?
I mean, I think some Tennessee fans are. I mean, listen, I do think that Vandy's probably hit that wall of where their talent can take it because they have played such a physical style through the first, 9 weeks, 10 weeks of football. I mean, they've played really well. But that Clark Lee has got them boys ready. Like maybe last week was a little bit of a look ahead. They were maybe not focused. And they were thinking about UT because they want to spoil that UT victory. They just want to beat them down. Like, I don't know. Sometimes that happens, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was going to be interesting. I just want to see how well Vandy plays early. If they got that moxie and swagger to them at home, ooh, this could be a battle. Because I think they got some corners that can match up. Mano y mano. Just them staying healthy in the trenches will be very, very interesting to see if they can slow down Samson. Because if not, they just think they're going to just throw around the yard. I'm interested to see if Tennessee can do that.
And Diego presents a pretty
he's a whole nother problem
because he just takes all these risks. So I mean, an opportunistic University of Tennessee defense should match up well against Vanderbilt. But like he just has that little bit of college football magic to him, the way he plays the game, and those some of those throws that he should not be throwing that go through. And make it through. Like, if they start off hot and they get that crowd in there, and listen, Vandy doesn't have some massive probably
sound too is loud up in there, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like, obviously, there's going to be a lot of orange in there for sure. Maybe even more orange than Vandy black and gold.
Oh, no, man.
But I will say,
in that.
it will be very interesting to see.
I'm a bold prediction. Half and half.
Half
this
and
game
half.
on attendance. The reason why I say that is the Vandy fans, they kind of, they
I've seen a lot of UT fans struggling to find tickets.
Right. Oh, is that true? Huh? Okay, so I think half and half. Let's see how close I get to that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because that to me is such an interesting dynamic. Like if you can make some big plays early,
yep.
Does the BVS, battered Vol syndrome, start creeping in, like
with that slow start?
Yeah,
and
slow
then
start.
Vandy gets up on
like
you.
Even if
you start getting nervous, Jackson gets nervous.
What's the point spread for you, Jackson? If you were to go, let's say you guys didn't score in the first quarter, and Vandy's up 14-0, BVS kicking in.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
7-0, BVS kicking in.
Who got the
after
ball
the first quarter?
Who got the ball first? Oh, at the end of the first quarter?
Yeah.
Probably not yet.
Okay, not yet, but
BVS is a second half thing.
It's a second half thing? Okay.
Like, actually, it did creep in a little bit when the Vols were playing so well against Georgia in the first half, go to half tied, 17-17.
Yeah.
Started creeping in.
All right. It's going to be a fun weekend. And we'll talk more about where Vandy and UT matches up on tomorrow's show, but it's just, I've heard these UT fans talk about we can match up with anybody and everybody, and I get it, understand it, but you got to worry about Vanderbilt first. This is as an Alabama fan, I can tell you, it's no easy task. They are a well-coached, hard-fighting team, and it is no easy task. I am picking UT to win, but I do want to say, like, it's just not that easy.
I'm waiting till tomorrow.
You wait till tomorrow?
I still got to think about it, man.
Yeah.
I got to look at the injury report.
Yeah, for sure. It's I think it's just gonna be such a good matchup. Finally a game like this has high stakes, right?
Yes. And then all the pressure is on Tennessee.
Yeah.
And when you play some team like Vandy with Diego, who plays like he has no tomorrow, those are dangerous people to play, man.
Yeah.
And he can get lucky with one of them spin around throws that he'll make, and you say, oh, no. And then you go, oh, yes. If he can do some magical things, as you mentioned, oh, wow. I wouldn't put nothing past that guy.
We'll get to your phones coming up after the break. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey, this is Blaine Bishop. I want to know if you have heard about peptides. And peptides are shaking up the fitness world. There are naturally occurring aminos in our bodies. And as we age, they start to decline. And at some point, they may need to be supplemented. This is why our workouts can stop being productive at the gym. So maybe you feel like you've hit a wall, or perhaps you feel tired all the time. You may be struggling to stay awake in the evenings when you get home from work. Well, if you have the thought this is just a normal part of aging, it doesn't have to be that way. Peptides are proven to increase muscle and performance, burn fat, help with recovery between workouts, and more. Peptides can even help with motivation and mental clarity. These are all safe, naturally occurring aminos and not pharmaceuticals, a natural and holistic way to get your body back to peak performance. Plus, Edge Peptide Therapy has the most comprehensive blood panel around. So when you go to Edge, you will know exactly what is going on inside of your body and what it needs to get back to peak performance. So feel better from the inside out. So go to edgepeptide.com. Yes, that's edgepeptide.com, or just give them a call at 615-724-1878. That's 724-1878.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation because we're going to go straight to your phones. Tristan in Brentwood wants to talk about the Tennessee Volunteers. Tristan, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Thank you for taking my call. I would just like, you said that, like, you want to face up against Arizona State, like, online, or you want to face against Arizona State. I think that team is hot, and I think Tennessee,
very true,
could be a great matchup, but I think Tennessee could lose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
that's what
Dillingham's done a
Jackson
great
wanted,
job.
right?
Yeah, well, I just said Arizona State. Yeah, Dillingham, they done a great job. It's only
Yeah.
the second season there, man. Hey, man, Arizona State came out of nowhere, too.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
My
Yeah.
preference would be Notre Dame.
Really?
Well, Buck Rising is a noted Notre Dame fan. I think that would provide some good content.
But he doesn't even watch football, does he?
No, he doesn't watch Indiana either.
Yeah.
But I do think Notre Dame would be a fun matchup.
I mean, that would be a really tough draw right out of the gate because Notre Dame would be technically ranked ahead of you, and you'd have to go to South Bend, right?
Yes, but I've also seen Tennessee draw Georgia, and I would much rather play Notre Dame than Georgia.
I guess that's true. But that defense, at Notre Dame is playing on another level.
I know it doesn't
right
matter. You got to play Notre Dame in Notre Dame.
Yeah.
It's a little different, cold weather and all, but Notre Dame, just because they got beat by Northern Illinois, that was eons ago. And
that was in...
the committee hasn't used it against them, by the way, and then they've played better, much better from that point moving forward. So I don't know if I don't know. They have better athletes, but you just don't know. But Notre Dame. I grew up a Notre Dame fan. I don't know about no Buck being from Evansville, which is like 5 hours the other way. So yeah, I don't know if he knows any about the history and the players and all that. I wonder if I told him Dorsey Levens went there and then transferred to Georgia Tech, would he know that?
He probably doesn't know who Dorsey Levens is. That's where you got to start first.
Jerome Bettis, Tim Brown, Rocket Ishmael.
He may know Jerome Bettis, but he knows him as the commentator.
I mean, Rick
not
Meyer.
the player.
Rick Meyer is starting quarterback. Was the second pick of the draft. I think
you would have to do Manny Te'o for Buck to recognize a Notre Dame
he would
player.
know that.
Yeah, he
I
would know that one.
guarantee you. Yeah, that's the more soap opera stuff.
Notre Dame and Tennessee have a decent history from back in the 80s. I want to see that matchup.
Yeah.
If I'm picking a
That's
matchup
two
I
big
want to
marquee
see,
teams.
Notre Dame and Tennessee would be the most fun matchup that would really get everybody excited.
Man, I think it was a big rivalry too from in the 80s when Notre Dame and Tennessee were going back and forth as far as who were winning games, like in bowl games and things of that nature. It was really big back then. Late 90s, early 90s. Late 80s, early 90s. Yeah, that was, wow. Yeah, that was big time. That's when they were one of, the forefront of football, Notre Dame and Tennessee.
Yeah. Well, so we've been talking hypotheticals. So I got a hypothetical throw out there that should make University of Tennessee fans happy.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, you should go on vacation.
What if Alabama loses to Auburn? Because I've always expected. Yeah,
somebody go get fired.
Yeah,
man.
that's what I'm saying. That should make Tennessee fans a little happy.
No
I mean
doubt.
that Alabama's trending in the wrong direction, right? Like,
I don't know, man. I kind of want to see more of Kalen DeBoer.
I am with you, but if they listen, I have always thought that 9-3 was the realistic record
You
for
don't
this
understand
team.
why he's saying that because he's saying because they
Are
beat
you saying
him.
that because you think you could beat them more?
Yes, it is.
I don't want Bama to have another coaching search.
Yes,
I think Kalen DeBoer is. I think the Tennessee-Bama rivalry will be more fun with Kalen DeBoer as the coach. Tennessee getting.
Yeah.
I mean, Saban beat us for 15 years, man. I mean, it wasn't a fun rivalry, and I think DeBoer could probably make it more fun.
A little bit closer, a little bit more give and take.
Yeah, a little bit more. I think DeBoer's a good coach, and he can probably beat Tennessee, and I think it's going to be a more fun rivalry. I don't want him to get another juggernaut as a coach.
I just think that I look at it like this. Like, I always expect them to be 9-3, but if you and an Auburn loss was not involved in that, and so if he goes, 8-4, and you lose to Auburn, I don't know how you survive that. Unless the boosters are just really behind you and you guys are all on the same page. Like, it's one of those games where even if you win in a close game,
I don't know, man.
I don't know how you survive. It's just that is a tough pill to swallow.
This is a rivalry. You just never know.
Yeah,
And
you never
Auburn's
know.
starting to play a little bit better too, by the way.
Yeah. You never know. I mean, Dawn was in her full ugly attire yesterday. She had the ugliest outfit on. Ugly
She had
shoes,
her
ugly
shoes were
shirt.
Auburn.
Yeah, I mean, everything was Auburn. This is hideous. We're going to go to Uncle Bob on the phones, 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation. But Uncle Bob in Spring Hill, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, thanks for taking the call. Real quick, I was listening here, of course, 79 is when Notre Dame came to Knoxville. I was lucky to beat that game. And we beat them like a drum. And their coach was Dan Devine. And he was so freaked out at the end of that game, he on the radio after the game, he couldn't articulate a sentence. It was unbelievable. Look, our linebacker was Andy Spiva. But anyway, a little bit of history from the old
you got
man.
some more history? In 89, did they kick a field goal, Notre Dame, to win or something like that? Or was it the other way around? UT did?
No, that was when we beat them up in South Bend.
Yes, that's the game I'm talking about.
But this was 79. I don't remember the score, and we beat them up pretty big. And but anyway, a lot of fun, and I'm worried about Vanderbilt. Well, that's why they play the game.
Yeah.
Anyway, appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you, Uncle Bob.
It was 91, the Miracle at South Bend.
Man,
Yeah.
91. Yeah, that's Jesus, yeah. Touchdown Jesus. Yeah, touchdown Jesus.
But
ask Buck about touchdown Jesus.
If you ask Buck anything that happened before 2019, he ain't gonna know.
Well, Buck know that Golden Tate, local product, was a Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
He does know that?
I don't know. I'll have to ask him.
Yeah, right.
JP2's finest.
I mean, I look at it and I just, if you can't ask Buck anything from 2019, you can ask him anything about pop culture. Have you ever just tried to have a normal conversation with Bucky? It's hard to even do that.
We gotta have a roast of Buck. I saw someone say that on the chat, man. Hey, who is that? Benjamin Harris or somebody said? Yeah, we got to have a roast of Buck, man. I think that'll be fun on air live.
Just have him sit in the chair and take it, and we'll just rotate everybody in on the station.
No, I want him to defend himself.
You want him to defend himself? We should just play, do we think that Buck knows who this is?
Yeah.
We do play that.
Yeah, do you?
Every offseason there's college football trivia.
Oh, yeah?
And this year he did better than, it was his best year
You think he was studying up?
No.
It's hard to say.
Or you almost just asked easier questions. So you got to make because I don't think he would know who Dorsey Levens is.
Yeah. Well, who
maybe Jerome Bettis.
Yeah, maybe.
But I'm not really
Dorsey
putting anything on that. I wouldn't bet money on there.
I wonder if he knows Rodney Culver.
No. There is no way that he does. I would be thoroughly surprised if he did. Brady Quinn would be a Notre Dame player he would probably know. Manny Te'o. So we'll see.
Yeah.
When we come back, we'll switch to conversation Tennessee Titans. This is cover 2 of the Blaine Bishop Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Alt.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 if you want to get in on the conversation. And, of course, we have the F&M Bank Chat on Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live, wherever you get that. And everybody's in full support of a buck roasting. We got to figure out the show.
Oh, man.
And then Buck just has to sit here. We roast them. We'll rotate in some roasters, just like a real one.
Or should we go to bar stools or somewhere and have it there?
Yeah, maybe somewhere like that as well.
Yeah.
There you go.
Or, giving free
Do it
plug
for
there.
charity.
Yeah.
There you go. Now we're on to something here.
I think so.
So let's switch to the Tennessee Titans. And a lot of the talk at the beginning of the year was, especially from fans who didn't, obviously, and rightfully so, didn't like the start of Will Levis, didn't like the start of the team, and all this stuff has been, well, they just pumped a bunch of sunshine on us about Will Levis. They truly don't believe in Will Levis, or they lied to us about what they saw in Will Levis. It's all fluff. They just fluffed him up, and it was meaningless. And what you're seeing these last few weeks is what I feel that Brian Callahan saw. And we heard Brian Callahan talk all summer about his belief in Will Levis and the good things that Will Levis can do and where he needs to show improvement. And I get it, because some of that is coach speak, right? I mean, obviously, if you're a new coach, you love the quarterback and you love this player and you love that player. But in reality, and this is where I'm going to bring out my little book. It's my new Bible, my football Bible, The Why is Everything here. By our buddy Michael Silver. But what I've learned through reading this and looking at how these offensive coordinators turned head coaches view quarterbacks, they're looking for the good and how to get the good out of them and how to take their good and utilize it to the next level. So I want to bring that over to Mike McDaniel and Tua's relationship when Mike McDaniel came in. And I think this is the first part I want to start with you, Blaine, is the belief in your players, the belief in the quarterback. And especially for someone like Mike McDaniel, who had very limited exposure to Tua before he took the job, limited exposure, right after he took the job. But he thought, after seeing Tua's first 2 years, and seeing that basically on the back of his jersey, as Michael Silver put it, is not Justin Herbert. That's basically what was on the back of Tua's jersey and with fans and all that kind of stuff. And he said, so with a guy like Tua, we have to start with, he has to know that someone's 100% in his corner, which I see as that's what a coach is. And that no dude, that quotation marks, no dude, you can do it. So I had to convince him that I believed in him so that he could in turn allow himself to believe as well. So I look at that and I think that is what Brian Callahan did all offseason, all through training camp, all through OTAs, all through this season. All he has done is reinforce with Will Levis, who we think has an uneven temperament of sorts, has shown confidence. And I think that has been maybe one of the biggest things about Will Levis's growth since getting injured is that his head coach stayed by him no matter what, especially when you look across the league and they cut Daniel Jones and then, they benched Bryce Young and then they benched Anthony Richardson. This dude stood by you the whole time.
Yeah. Through my days of a player and, that's what I've been saying the entire time, really. You got to support, especially when your quarterback is actually really the organization, and he represents you not only on the field but off the field. And you got to support him in a manner that I was talking about, always the mental side of it, because you can do all that behind the scenes, critique and try to correct and do all these things, but publicly you always want to support your quarterback, even in tough times when you're having bad days or failures throughout the time. You still got to support them. They understand that they're making mistakes, but you can't just throw them under the bus. And that's when I lose respect for some of the coaches when they do that, especially publicly. Now they're trying to point the finger. No, you just be realistic. I think head coach Brian Callahan has been honest the entire time, not just with the quarterback, with anything of his assessment of a game, including himself. And that's where then you garner respect amongst the locker room, amongst grown men, not college athletes. So I think he's gone about it the right time, right way. And even when he was down and out, wasn't playing well, even when he got injured, he still supported him. Maybe not as much verbally then, but behind the scenes, you could tell he was. And then eventually he got there. So I think that kind of positive affirmation and support always should happen with a quarterback, especially a young, developing quarterback. Key, young, developing. This is not Aaron Rodgers already polished. And I think there are some things, Coach Callahan, when I listened to him, I think he assumed Levis was ahead of where he should have been based off what he saw on tape and his mental aptitude as far as like his thought processing. He's still not a polished quarterback in his thought process. When he says, I'm reminding him, hey, man, it's third down here. We win field goal range. Don't take a sack. He's saying that he said that to him in the headset. Well, if you have to tell him that, then that means you feel uncomfortable that he knows this.
Right.
You must continue to remind. A veteran quarterback, you're not. It's like when we were talking about last week about him changing the play. I think they were talking about Cosell said he should have changed the play on one of them. I was like, yeah, a veteran quarterback would have changed the play, but not a guy who's young, who's just now getting his feet wet in a new offense. As I said before, this is like his rookie season all over because he's getting quarterback coaching and he's in a new offense. All this is still new to him, and he's still a growing quarterback. He's not polished. He's not there yet. He wasn't there before when he came out. Great prospect, great arm, great athlete. So you got to grow that, and I think that's what he does. And I think in this modern era of football with these young, fantastic athletes, not just a quarterback, I think all of them need some sort of support that way in development.
Which brings me looking back on last season's, right? Like last season, you kind of look at it and you go, well, when he started getting into trouble, they just took the ball away from him. And they took the ball out of his hands.
So is that coaching?
See, that's what I was about to get to is like Mike Vrabel, when he gets players he doesn't necessarily want, I don't know if he puts forth the full effort into developing them. That's how I would, phrase it succinctly, is that, like, look at Traylon Burks. They traded away A.J. Brown. Traylon Burks was obviously started off on the wrong foot, and there was no true development, I feel like, for Traylon Burks. I don't think he really wanted Will Levis. I mean, based on what you hear, doesn't really sound like he wanted Will Levis. And he took a while for him to even give Will Levis full second-team reps. I mean, he's still splitting reps with everything, with Malik Willis and all that throughout camp. So there wasn't really a good development process. Whereas in Brian Callahan, you see that belief, right? Okay, you went out there, you made a mistake. Here's some other quarterbacks that made the same mistake. Then we're going to have you play through these mistakes. You got to learn to play through the mistakes. Last year, it was like, okay, here's what you can do. Here's the plays we're going to call for you. And if you can't do them, then we're just going to take the ball out of your hands. And I don't think that's the right way of coaching. And we've already talked about college coaches, and this is no slight on Liam Cohen or Rich Scangarello. This is just college coaches in general are having a hard time essentially developing quarterbacks and getting them ready. And obviously Will Levis, like you said, was already way behind the curve in terms of knowing how to play the position. He knows how to throw a ball. He knows, he's got the arm talent to do it, and he's played quarterback, but he's never played the position. And that's something that Brian Callahan has kind of echoed throughout this whole conversation around Will Levis, that we are teaching him how to put the ball on the fairway. We're teaching him how to do the mundane. He's learning how to play the position. Mm-hmm. He's never, in my mind, I hear all this stuff, and I think that you're right. They overestimated what the prior staff developed.
Mm-hmm. They made assumptions. Yeah. And I think then once they got into the weeds, like, ooh, we need to keep reminding them of certain things, assuming that he knew these things and was already past some of the minutia of the, interworkings of playing that position. So, no harm, no foul. I think now they know. And then you heard him say, head coach Callahan, I forgot how he phrased it, where now he is now calling plays that fit Levis now instead of just calling his offense. Yeah. See what he said? I'm calling plays that, now they're getting a better feel for him and things that he likes and based off of his actions in games and probably having conversations And so that's great to hear from a head coach who's also a play caller. And he's getting better as a play caller, too. You know, he's still growing at his being a head coach and a play caller, which is really tough, by the way. And he's kind of shown that, okay, now I'm ready to take off, because it's hard to question some of their play calling now. Before I was like, ooh, then, you know, game management part was getting in plays late and they're getting up to the line late. We don't hear any of these things over the last 3 or 4 games. So I think it's a whole culmination of a lot of things. And I think now they've gotten to the level or comfort level of where he's playing, where they're calling plays, understanding their personnel, where to put certain guys, who to lean into. And then usually when that happens, the team takes off.
Yeah.
So it'll be really interesting. And I've always said defense is easier, because especially an attacking style defense is what they are most of the time, because you're dictating. Offenses have to placate off of what the defense does. So it's a rhythm timing deal. So it's always just, why is the offense always behind? Well, it's not that they're behind. It's just it's not seamless where defense is, where you could just run and go get the ball, where they have to be in certain spots at certain times. Somebody has to block, so you got to have all these different things that you have to depend on as a quarterback to get to a rhythm and a flow. And most of the time, sometimes I would rely on just disrupt timing. Even though the guy's going to outrun me, he's not going to get to the spot, because that's where they're going to throw, is to the spot. And if he's not there and I make him go around me instead of open the gate, then all of a sudden now I'm in trouble. That's like Ridley. I would never want to get into a foot race with Ridley at any point in time. Guess what they do? Match him up on a safety and they get into a foot race.
And listen, Levis is, I think Brian Callen talked about this on the OTP, talked about this a few weeks ago, and we'll maybe talk about this with Coach Mack as well. But he said, remember a few weeks ago, he said, when Levis steps in, everything is around him better. So we expect the offense to continue as it is. And it has. And he said it on the OTP on Monday's show, the coaching show, that we also think that not only has Will Levis developed, but every other piece of the offense has developed well. So he's stepping into a better situation than he had at the beginning of the year as well. 20 sacks. Notwithstanding.
Right. Well, but 8 sacks in this game, and he still played well. And
Brian Callahan said that he thinks that number should have been cut in half. Yeah. And I think he basically put it as 2, 2, 2, 2. 2 on Levis, 2 as NPF, 2 on Latham, and 2 on other coverage and a busted play. So, you take the coverage and the busted play, you take the 2 Levis-inspired sacks, and then you cut that in half, and you were talking about a different ball game too. So it's just all these things are trending in the right direction for the Tennessee Titans at the right time. But I think all this also points to that Levis is the trailer, not the truck, but you can win with the trailer and not the truck.
Absolutely. I agree.
So we'll talk to Coach Mack coming up next. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Woohoo!
Have you noticed how unreliable things have become these days? Like when someone tells you it'll be ready at 4 p.m. and it's not? People are really tired of that stuff. If you've ever had the unreliable vehicle repair shops come to, you're dependable, Eurofix. Eurofix turns unreliable into reliable, and Eurofix has your vehicle ready when it's really ready, so you don't have to stand around waiting all freaking day. And Eurofix repairs all European cars with quality that beats the dealer and without the dealer pricing. And that's because dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of the dealership's overhead. And that's a lot of money. And why would you want to pay for that? Well, a Eurofix Reliable also means 3-year nationwide warranty plus a free loaner car with every repair appointment. So make sure you call ahead, as loaner cars are very, very popular. So if you're tired of the unreliable repair shops, come on over to Reliable, and that'll be Eurofix. Family owned for 24 years. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can just visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But always tell them, Blaze,
You know what that music means? That means it's time for our weekly Mac Attack with Coach Mac, brought to you by Tours for the South's most trusted Ford dealer. And, of course, you can hear Coach Mac on Titans Radio, calling the games with Mike Keith every Sunday. And then you got Mac Talk tonight at right after 3HLs, where you can ask the questions. And, of course, if you're in the YouTube chat or the F&M Bank chat on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live, wherever you get your Zone TV, if you want a question that we give to Coach Mac, just put it in the chat. But Coach, we'll just start off. Several teams this season have taken different paths with the young, struggling quarterbacks they drafted last year. And right now seems to be starting to pay off for some of these offenses, kind of like proving that development is not linear. How big was it for Will Levis's development that Brian Callahan remained steadfast in his messaging of he's the guy throughout Will's injury recovery?
Well, that's important, and of course, it's also important that Will paid attention and took a lot in during the time that he was unable to play, because you can take that two ways. When you're unable to play, if you're just kind of hanging around and not paying attention and not trying to grow from learning things, that's one thing. But if you're trying to learn and grow and really dug in and just waiting for your opportunity to get back, it makes a big difference. But I mean, it makes a difference as far as your support system, and also the players on the team have never lost faith in him, but he's got to work at it, and he has worked at it. He's still got a ways to go, but you can see improvement, but it has to be steady improvement. And look, I mean, the National Football League is strewn across the league. You can tell of quarterbacks that have started off rocky, have ended up decent, have started off decent, have hit lulls, have come back up. You've got to have some stick-to-itness, I guess, if that's a word, to develop in any players in the National Football League, but especially your quarterback.
One of the big changes, according to Brian Callahan, is that Will's letting the game come to him. Or, he kind of put it colorfully a couple weeks ago, putting the ball on the fairway. Now that he's beginning to put that philosophy into action, what's the next step up he could take as a quarterback? What's that next level?
Well, just situational awareness, situational awareness of, the people that you've got rushing, how they're going to rush you in different down and distances, how they're going to rush you different from alignments, all of those things. I mean, and look, it's time on task in this league. It's time on task with any position, but particularly at the quarterback position, because you have to process things very, very quickly. And really, I mean, the whole engine depends on you. If you're throwing the football, depends on you processing it very quickly to start with, and even the run game. Getting you in and out of the right looks against the fronts that you're going to play against. The Titans have played against three pretty decent defenses so far, and all types of different looks front-wise. So this is all an educational experience. But just like playing anything else, any position, you can ask Blaine sitting there. As soon as your heart rate goes down in situations, the better you're able to perform. Because if you're out there all frantic, regardless of what position you're playing, and your heart rate is up and you're just racing, then, I mean, there's a difference between playing fast and then playing in a hurry. And so you've got to learn how to slow your heartbeat down, play fast, but don't be in a hurry.
The interior of the defensive line really swallowed up the run game for the Houston Texans that have been traditionally explosive all year long, especially Joe Mixon, who was having a heck of a year. But how much did actually switching Kenneth Murray to the Mike linebacker actually have a hand in that stout run defense? Was he able to maybe diagnose a little bit easier and quicker because he's playing at the Mike?
No, I mean, your eye keys and your eye discipline, I mean, it's a little bit different bit of eye discipline from the middle to the will linebacker as far as when you move over. But he's been playing the run very well from wherever he was. The biggest thing about the ability to stop the run game, which we all agreed was going to be paramount going into that game, with Houston, especially the way Mixon had been running and the way they just destroyed the Cowboys the week before with the run game with Mixon, was those two guys down front. Those two guys down front put on a show. And when they are doing that, the linebackers that are standing behind the ball have got a lot better chance to run gaps, to clean things up, to move pretty quickly, to get ahead of blocks, because that center guard triangle is worried about the two dudes up front caving it in.
We're on with Coach Mac of Titans Radio for his weekly Mac Attack, brought to you by Tours for the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Well, Coach, I guess give us your overall view of the Texan game from a coach's perspective because, man, it was up and down. You were wondering who was going to win the game or who was going to make the last turnover to win it, especially in all facets of the game. So give us your thoughts.
Well, Blaine, you've been in a lot of games, too, just like I have. That was strange as hell. It really was. I mean, in all three phases. You saw things in all three phases you could spend 2 and 3 seasons and not see. And circumstances in the game that flipped it both back and forth, as you said. I mean, and what had to happen is both teams took their turn at looking like that they're going to be on the back end of the score, and then both teams also took their turns at rebounding. So it was a pretty fascinating game to watch. And Mike Keith and I, were talking with each other up there, even during the broadcast, saying there are some really strange things going on in all three phases of this game. So it was hard to get a handle on really who had the upper hand. And so when you started digging into it, you just had to hope that your team, which is the Titans in our case, would come out on the end of making more plays in critical moments than the Texans did. And that's what happened. And plus, in this ball game, the Titans quarterback outplayed the Texans quarterback, and that was a huge part of it.
Yeah, man, who would have predicted that, right, Coach? I guess take us through the issues or what you saw, in particular just J.C. Latham going against a fabulous, 100 Pro Bowl player and kind of taking the school throughout the game, a good learning process for him who's doing pretty well in this league for a first-year left tackle.
No, as you well know, sometimes in this league in the matchup, sometimes, you get the bull and sometimes you get the horn.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, exactly. We all have as a coach. I mean, and he got the horns in this one because, and he'd gone against that dude before a lot of times, I'm sure, in practice. And so, that defensive front that they have, the rush personnel that they have built, and I said this going into it during the week, you guys also studied it. That's as good a varied rush personnel as you can have across the front. And, and he got beat. He didn't get beat every time, but you just knew that he was going to get varied moves, from that dude on the edge, because once he got beat to the outside, you could just about predict the next move was going to come with a stick outside and a move underneath. And so, yes, it was a very, very good learning experience for him. And he'll get a chance again because they're in the same division. They will play again. And hopefully he's learned from it because that was a pretty critical environment that the offensive protection group was in against a pretty good pass rush group.
No doubt about it. I guess one more for me, man. When the Texans kicker missed that, I guess field goal for the tie. What were you and Mike Keith saying up there on the call? Because I missed that, and I just wanted to hear, what were y'all saying before he kicked it, Fairburn, and then when he shanked it, what were you thinking?
Well, first of all, I mean, Mike Keith's always on top of it, and I'm standing there, and he was going through how successful, Kai Fairburn had been, from all kinds of distances. And so what we were getting ready to do, I mean, I got to be perfectly honest. I mean, I was getting ready to, either hope that we could take the ball back down and score with no time left or get ready for overtime because that's where I thought it was heading. And then when he, and Mike Keith's call is always very professional. And, and he said, snap, set, kick, dead silence. He jerked it left. And so, yeah, look, that's, again, as I say, in that ball game, there's so many unusual things happen in every phase. That was an unusual thing in that we had an unusual phase in our kickoff coverage, the first one where Cedric Gray had the guy wrapped up in his arms, and then somehow he pulled a Tasmanian devil and spun out and went 85 yards with it. So, hey, be ready for anything with the National Football League, and especially you've been involved in this, especially division games.
No doubt about it. We're on with Coach Mack giving us the Mack attack.
Mac, a guy that no one's really talked about since coming out of the bye is Peter Skoronski. And sometimes that's a good thing if you're not talking about an offensive lineman. But what have you seen since coming out of the bye? Because over 7 games, he's only allowed 1 sack and 8 pressures over those 7 games. And a couple of 2 games where he's allowed no pressures or anything. What have you seen from Peter Skoronski's growth coming out of that bye week?
Well, I mean, he's settled into being a guard, for his profession. I mean, and he's doing really well. He's an athletic guy. He's smart as hell. And and the thing I liked about that game, I love the yin and the yang of who's calling plays. And in this game, you could, when you watch the game, they were in such wide alignments on defense. But then what Brian Callahan started calling was those inside trap games, and that big run by Pollard. I mean, it's a beautiful trap by Skoronski, beautiful trap. Now he's also learned another lesson, because the next time they tried to run that trap, the defensive tackle over there, the defensive tackle did the same thing that we used to teach all the time. If they're running the trap or the wham game on you, trap the trapper or wham the whammer and go underneath and splatter it and make it go back outside. And that's when, that's what caused the fumble. So there's a lot of learning to do inside, but I think he's playing very well.
With Dan Quinn as the head coach of the Washington Commanders and the Titans' next matchup coming, he's really known for his Seattle 3, that cover 3 that Seattle made famous during their Super Bowl run. And he does on the third down, he kind of likes to use that cover 1 with a whole player as well. And I kind of am looking at that and I'm thinking, but he's gotten so much more aggressive with his blitzes. He's one of the higher rating. He's in top 10 in blitz rate in both the run and the pass. How does an offense like this, with some troubles at the offensive line in different moments, try to attack a blitzing zone defense like this Washington Commanders team?
Well, you got to make the correct calls. You got to get the point outs, and then you've got to understand. All you got to do is go through their game books. Watch Frankie Louvu, one of the inside linebackers, has got more sacks than anybody. So and he's coming from a lot of different directions. I've always liked Dan Quinn's defense because it's got simplicity, but it's also has attack ability towards an offense. And you're right, it's a cover 3, it's a free match, type of a defense. And so, but we're going to get pressure. They're going to get pressure, and you're right. They bring it from a lot of different areas, and the thing that Dan's always been very good at doing is utilizing his people where they can help the most, especially on non-pressure downs when you're not expecting it. We saw that a little bit from D'Amico Ryans later as that game evolved down there in NRG Stadium. He started doing some run blitz stuff, and really I think if he hadn't lost Petrie out there on the edge as a nickel blitzer, he would have done it more. We should expect to see some more of that coming up in Washington.
Cliff Kingsbury has done a great job with Jaden Daniels. He's given him an excellent offensive game plan for the rookie quarterback that has made it really easy for the young quarterback by simplifying reads, simplifying his assignment. And I look at it as like he understands what he's looking at, the coverages. He knows when to bring the ball down. I mean, we're talking about over the last 3 weeks, he's had almost just as many pressures as Will Levis, but hardly any of those have turned into sacks because he's either thrown it away or he has that escape ability. He just knows it's such a good offense built around Jaden Daniels. So when over these last few weeks, when you've seen the dips that he's kind of suffered, a little bit of growing pains, rookie wall, how would you attack a quarterback like that when you are looking at this Tennessee personnel and what they have available to them? How do you attack a quarterback that is just making all the right decisions, it feels like, almost every time he's put in a high-pressure situation?
Well, you got to attack the system. The system that Cliff runs, he's always ran. Same thing he did in Arizona, same thing he did at Texas Tech that got him a job in this league when he had Mahomes. He's going to spread you out. You're going to have to play the space game with him. And then the other thing is the thing that makes Jaden Daniels so hard to defend when you're spread out, especially if you rush 4. I mean, there's 5 gaps in there. The guy's got some real juju and make a miss to him. I mean, he has been under pressure, but his escapability is at the top of the charts right now. I mean, it's a lot. Those quarterbacks that, regardless of the type of pressure, they can still find a way to jackrabbit away from you and still look downfield. And plus, I mean, Terry McLaurin has always been one of my favorite players, for a deep ball. And he can spin that ball downfield to him. So you're going to have to be defensively against this spread out group. First of all, you got to decide how you're going to disguise your coverages. You're going to have to decide how you're going to deploy when the ball is snapped back there in the back end, regardless of what you present pre-snap. The other thing is you got to have to be disciplined on your rush, especially if you're rushing with 4. You've got to be very, very disciplined on the edges, and at least one of the defensive front guys on either the shade or the 3 technique has got to be able to cover for the other one if you're going to rush 4 against this dude.
Mac, just to close up, the special teams situation, it seems like every week or every other week, while maybe sometimes the defense can recover by being put in a bad position, they're allowing some big returns, and they're obviously not sitting on their hands, right? They're making personnel moves, they're signing people to try to fix this thing. They're also, I mean, obviously coaching. I mean, I'm sure they're not watching like Looney Tunes while they're in the meeting room and just eating snacks the whole time and not trying to fix these mistakes. So what is when you see a unit like this, whether it's offense, defense, special teams, continue to have mistakes that pop up? What is the disconnect between what's going on in the room and practice and the game?
Well, the punt coverage is and it has been good.
Right.
They've cleaned that up. It's a kick coverage, and the kick coverage is, I mean, especially with the way it's set up now, there's nobody cross blocking. You go down and beat your man and then make the tackle. I mean, I had a 5-yard run return. I mean, Cedric Gray had the guy wrapped up with both arms. Mm-hmm. And so you got to keep leverage, you got to keep relative distance, and then everybody's got to close, and you got to make a tackle. I mean, to me, that it's a lot different in that kind of coverage than it used to be. Much more complicated, where you were running like Braveheart down the field, 45, 50 yards before you ever got to the front line that was blocking. I mean, that just comes to execution. You've got to make that play.
Gotcha. Okay, Blaine's got a question for
one
you.
more. We talked about Brown there, Zach did, and he looked like he had a shot to maybe, launch a little bit and get a hit on the guy in the end zone. I don't know if he really did or didn't, but what do you think about his play thus far, especially with Hooker out there, man? It seems like he's kind of showing he can be somewhat of a productive, maybe at worst case scenario, the third safety, but maybe even a starter in this league.
No, I like the way he's played, and I'm glad you brought that up, Blaine, because I refrained from it on the air, but because you brought it up, so I can blame it on you. When he pulled off of that hit in the end zone on that touchdown, that was directly related to Cletus and his clowns the week before. Directly related to that. That's all I'm going to say about that. He's playing really good.
Go, Coach.
Yeah, he really is playing good. Okay, favorite Thanksgiving side dish before we let you go?
Ooh.
The side dish?
Yeah.
The sweet potatoes.
I love it. Well, that is Coach Mack. You can hear him on tonight, right after 3HL on Mac Talk, where you can ask him the questions. And then, of course, you can also hear him every Sunday with Mike Keith on Titans Radio. We really appreciate the time, and have a happy holidays, Coach Mack.
Guys, happy Thanksgiving to you. And, hey, look, Jackson is producing Mac Talk tonight, so y'all are there with him. Tell him not to jack it up for Thanksgiving.
We make no promises. We are not responsible for Jackson once 3 o'clock hits.
Yeah.
Well, now I've made you responsible. See you guys.
Man.
Okay.
Man, big responsibility right there. That's Coach Mack for his weekly Mac Attack, brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. When we come back, we'll wrap up some of the Titans talk, and we'll maybe get into a little bit of a holiday Thanksgiving conversation, because I have a take that maybe is not, maybe is a little hot about Thanksgiving. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop, Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey, folks, I've been talking about Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance for years because they're the leading experts in sports medicine and performance and the team physicians for the NFL, college, and high school athletics across Tennessee. And TOA provides sports medicine coverage to more high school and college sports teams than any orthopedic group in the state of Tennessee. They have 29 locations throughout the state and over 100 physicians throughout Middle and East Tennessee to take care of all your musculoskeletal needs. And TOA has 11 urgent care locations with walk-in availability 7 days a week. They offer direct access to sports medicine and performance, physical therapy, and nutrition, personalized rehabilitation plans to enhance mobility and reduce pain and improve overall physical function for patients recovering from injuries or surgeries, just like I did. So TOA also offers sports performance training, a specialized program designed to enhance athletic performance and provide tailored training solutions for athletes at all levels, Jackson. So please check out the services at TOA.com. Yes, that's right, TOA.com.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation. Of course, we're powered by all Four Seasons Garage Door. And you have the F&M Bank chat on Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. And Blaine, just real quick, before we get into a little Thanksgiving talk, a little holiday talk, the special teams unit. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. And I think I side on the fact with Coach Mack. It's like, a lot of these plays have been execution, and you got to win your one-on-one matchups, and it doesn't seem like they're winning their one-on-one matchups. But I've heard the old adage, you're either coaching it or you're allowing it to happen. Is that an adage that you can really take and apply to any situation? Because this seems like surely they're not coaching this. And they're obviously not allowing it because they are trying different people in different spots, and they signed Stanley Morgan, which I assume is to come in and do some form of coverage, because that's where he made his bread and butter with the Cincinnati Bengals when he was in the NFL. So, like, my question is where do you fall on this whole? I mean, the whole philosophy that is happening and discussion around the special teams right now.
And I've said this before, special teams is really hard to coach in the modern era of the NFL. First of all, now you're paying these guys a lot of money, and how hungry are they?
Right.
That's how you made your oats to make the team with special teams. That's no longer the way now. So they're not hungry. Those special teams guys, you got to want to get down there. You got to want to block the guy. You got to have this edge to you that you got to be able to get down there. Now, it's a little bit harder now with the, if you're a blocking team on kickoff with the new rules there. But I just think they're not as hungry. Much more talented and gifted athletically. I just think you don't see those hungry guys like that want to go down there. That's why they keep signing these guys. Every time they sign a guy, that guy hungry.
Right.
Yeah. You know why? Because he's been sitting on his couch.
Yep.
The rest of the people already here and already getting the big checks already, and they're like, oh, I've arrived.
Because it looks like to me, like when I see players that are hungry on the special teams, James Williams is one of the first guys to come to mind. He's not great at special teams. Right. He's had his flaws, but that's a guy that's at least violent.
Yeah, he's at least going out there. He's giving it all
you
he got.
see 52 down there. It's before anybody else.
They just signed. What was his name?
Hardy's been down there. Bryce Oliver's another one. We've talked about Bryce Oliver being hungry on offense, hungry on special teams. That dude just wants to play.
At the end of the day, that's what special teams is, man. You got to want to make the play and really, take ownership in what you're doing and your contribution to the team. I just don't know. Most guys probably feel like they should be starting. That's kind of how they come into the league. So I just think all teams are having issues. It's just that ours have been highlighted more so than most teams, but everybody's having issues every time I watch, So it's a thing in the league now, I would say. But, man, you got to coach them hard.
Because, the coaching did fix the punt unit on both sides. I mean, there's still things you got to work out with Ryan Stonehouse, and obviously Jaquan Jackson, after he catches the ball, has to secure the ball. But I can remember when Kyle Phillips couldn't even catch the ball to even attempt to secure it. And they had those issues for a while. So
they yanked him immediately when he dropped one. I mean, so now you want him you're going to need that guy. Just imagine if you yank your kicker when he makes a field goal. Oh, you don't have another kicker.
Yeah.
So you can't do it. So you got to support the kicker. So you're forced to, as a special team coach or a head coach. To me, that's that same tact you should take with the other players, too. And then I think you'll be in a good place. This is a game of inches, and it's a flawed game, and you're going to make mistakes. As I always say, that's not what defines you. It's how you respond to that.
Right.
So then you take him out if he does take that. I know now people are like, oh, well, he's going to lose his job now. Not him, the actual player, but the coach. So you got to trust in him and believe in him and support him.
And that's why I kind of lean, and we'll see how the rest of the season plays out. So, but at this point in time, I don't think that they're going to fire Colt Anderson at the end of the year. Now, things in my mind could change. Now, I'm not saying whether they should or shouldn't. That's the general sense and feeling that I get, because they are trying to find ways to fix it and give him the best players. Because it really, and I go back to it, when they were building the roster, they really downplayed how much important special teams was going to be. And now they're kind of realizing and course correcting, too little, too late on some of these games, but they're at least trying. So I kind of look at it like he is fixing some of the stuff. He's just got to fix it all. And there was a streak where these special teams gaffes weren't happening, and/or they weren't costing you a lot of points. I mean, there was a big long streak where it only cost you 6 points over several games, but then the Detroit game happened, and then all this stuff happens. Like, it's just sometimes when it gets bad, it's bad.
Snowballs.
I gotta get this off my chest.
It's about Thanksgiving?
I don't like Thanksgiving. Never liked it.
What's wrong
Don't
with this
like
guy?
it. Never liked it. I think the food is overrated. Now, I will say this. Fried turkey is awesome.
Oh, I love deep fried turkey.
Deep fried turkey is awesome.
Oh, okay.
But if I'm given the choice between deep fried turkey and ham and something else, I'm taking the other meats. Like, you want to do a beer can. Like, when we hosted Thanksgiving, we had my family and her family and my wife's family. I did smoked beer can turkey or beer can chicken. I did a smoked prime rib and a smoked beef tenderloin, and that's what you had. You didn't do ham or turkey. We didn't do anything.
It's not mandated that you have to have ham or turkey.
I'm just saying, I think Thanksgiving is a little overrated.
Oh, no.
And that is not just to be hot takey, because, some people will do that. I genuinely find Thanksgiving to be completely overrated.
Oh, my. What is your favorite holiday then?
I'm a Halloween guy.
Oh.
4th of July as well.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I really have an opinion on what's overrated or not, but anytime you can sit on the couch and just eat food and gather with family and friends, I think it's always a good day, regardless of whatever I'm eating.
Yeah. What about you, Jackson? Where do you land on it? Well, he just answered the phone, so we'll have to go back to that.
I'm a deep fried turkey guy.
Deep fried turkey.
I'm
if
open to
you've never
anything,
done deep fried turkey, that is life changing.
It is, because I didn't know about this till probably 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So it was like, whoa, I should have been having this whole time because I didn't grow up on that. So.
Yeah. And I've even done they make one for turkeys where you can put it on your grill and smoke it, but a beer can turkey where it has this big thing that you put in the cavity and it sits on this platter and then you smoke it.
Oh.
And then it also, the beer gets in there and keeps it all moist and everything. It was pretty good. But standard oven turkey,
nah, I'm good with you.
Get the hell out of here.
That's old school.
I will not touch it. I'll just have to eat the ham, I guess.
We're going to have to. Oh, we got a call. We got to take Kyle.
So let's go to Kyle in Springfield, who wants to talk about special teams. Kyle, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
About turkey.
What's going on, boys? Quick question. What you be able to do a beer can turkey with a 40?
Well, no. So you pour it into this you pour it into the actual container it sits on, and it sticks into the cavity of the turkey, and it just goes through there.
So going to special teams, I might be giving credit where it's wrong. I think it was Easton Freeze might post it on Twitter. It's talking about the breakdown in points. Allowed by different variations, turnover, special teams, and red zone defense. I think I've seen that said the special teams that gave up 72. It's either 68 or 72 points throughout the year.
Yes.
It's from special teams, gas, mess ups.
Yeah.
I mean, do y'all think it'll decrease as the year goes on? Everybody starts, gelling together more?
I think so. I mean, I'm the one who posted it, and he, Kyle, and he quote tweeted me. But it went like, when you go from the Bears game to the Texas games, it was for the special teams. It was 68. It was 10, 3, 0, 3, 0, 0, 21, 7, 14, 0, 10. That's way too many for any special teams unit. But turnovers have led to more points than that, and the red zone defense has given up more points than special teams. Yeah. But at the end of the day, your special teams defense or special teams cannot allow that many points. And just real quick,
I think they should do the beer turkey.
They should do the beer can turkey. But also, I will just say that I do think that we got to remember this is a first-year special teams coordinator, too, with a bunch of people who may not even want to play special teams, who don't have the desire. So I do agree with what Kyle said about it all gelling. We're going to go Joseph real quick to close out the show. Joseph, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, Blaine. Hey, Zach. So I used to do the turkey. Well, I still do the turkey, but I used to do the deep fried turkey for Thanksgiving. And about 3 years ago, my mom purchased me a char griller, the Big Easy. It's an infrared, basically an air fryer. That is by far the best method because it eliminates all that oil that you have to deal with after the turkey.
So they make an air fryer big enough for a turkey?
Yes. char griller.
Oh, boy. We may
Yeah,
be trying
I'm telling
something soon at the Lyons household.
I tell you.
Thank you,
it's
Joseph.
good.
That's a great call. Great way to end the show.
my.
We're going to talk more about Thanksgiving. We're going to talk about the Tennessee Titans, Tennessee Volunteers on tomorrow's show. 3HL is up next. They're over in Clarksville at the B-Dub. So if you're in the sound of my voice in your Clarksville area, go have some dinner over at Buffalo Wild Wings to hang out with 3HL crew. This has been Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons. And I'm thankful all year long, not thankful just on one day like you heathens.
Oh,
so I don't even need Thanksgiving because I'm thankful 365 days a year. Other than that, in the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.